The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, inaugurated a committee made up of 80% members from the north and without a single woman. Now, this particular daily also has it that the president, who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum Resources, approved the committee, which has Silva as chairman and included permanent secretary, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and other people as well. So we're talking about the gender gap there, and the backlash that has followed. Now, looking at some of the headlines before Malachi chimes in. Foreign airlines kick over inability to repatriate $143.8 million. All right. And we also have Mikhail Putin era ends. Dogs, flowers, and tarts. Reposts. All right.
That's from Germany and Russia.
Yes. Angela Merkel and Putin.
Vladimir. I like that name. Vladimir.
Looking at sports now, Chelsea to unleash Lukaku on underachieving Arsenal. Arsenal in the news again. Okay. And we also have this one. I'm not ready to leave office a failure. President Buhari tells service chiefs. Well, he did have a meeting with the service chiefs yesterday where they briefed him on the happenings in the theater of war, if you want to call it that. And he did make the statement that he wants he wants the things going on to be resolved before he leaves office. Malachi, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Quickly to the story that has to do with the Petroleum Industry Bill, now Petroleum Industry Act. That act will continue to elicit quite a lot of controversies indeed. Yes, some people may say, oh, it's heartwarming that at the end of the day, we're having a Petroleum Industry Act after a very long time. Yes, that's heartwarming, but the bill, the act, as it stands now, does not appear to deliver justice, fairness, and equity. The oil producing communities ask for 10% equity stake, and the House of Representatives reduced it to 5%. And the Senate did even something that could be said to be most painful, to have also reduced it to 3%. And of course, 30% of the profit made from oil exploration and exploitation will now be used to search for oil in places that are indeed not noted for oil-related activities. So it's like taking from someone who has to give to others instead of utilizing what has been generated in the areas concerned, talking about oil producing communities, to develop the oil producing communities. And again, the bill, at the end of the day, lumped oil producing communities and oil pipeline bearing communities almost in the same classification. Again, that could not be said to be fair.
Well, I think the percentages that accrues to both parties have been clarified.
Well, let's see how it pans out. And again, talking about implementation, you just read out a story now that the committee for the implementation again is reasonably lopsided. And
how much effect do you think that would have on the outcome of decisions?
If you must implement that act, definitely the people that appear to be suffering from oil exploration and exploitation dating back to 1958. Oil was discovered in commercial waters in 1956 in Oloibiri in the present-day Bayelsa State. So 2 years later, 58, the actual drilling commenced, and of course, in that same year, Nigeria began to export.
Okay, so
crude
what
oil.
do you think the accusation of the loop-sidedness would have?
Definitely, the people talking about indigenous of oil-producing communities and oil-producing communities, we have them in the following states: Bayelsa, Rivers, Edo. Bayelsa, Edo is there, but let me just mention them in the order in which they contribute maximally. Bayelsa, Rivers, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Imo, Abia, Edo, and of course Ondo states. So one would have expected indigenous, or rather natives of the oil-producing communities in the states just mentioned, to populate the implementation committee, because they have suffered all manner of deprivations on account of the long period of oil exploration and exploitation. So they should be in the driver's seat. They should be in the driver's seat. And one is hoping that the National Assembly should be mindful of the judgment of history, take back the mistakes that have been pointed out, and begin to remedy it, since we are still looking forward to the period of implementation.
All right.
All right, you're still listening to Metro 97.7 FM. This is Newspaper Review, 6:20 a.m. in the city of Lagos, taking a look at stories from other dailies. Are we done with The Guardian?
No, we're not. We still have a few stories to touch. Pantami lists conditions for robust digital economy, says ICT generated 1 trillion naira in 2 years. Watertight security as Buhari visits Adamawa today. Obasanjo Atiku offer path to Nigeria's survival. Feels good to see both of them standing together in this picture. Court rejects application to stop Kyari's arrest, extradition. Lagos lawmakers, others move against drug abuse, and reps fume over 5.62 trillion naira borrowing to fund budget deficit. That's troubling, if you ask me. Traffic robbery and youth unemployment. That's an editorial. Yes, so these are some of the headlines we have in the Guardian newspaper. Malachi.
Thank you very much. It's heartwarming that the House of Representatives, which is the lower legislative chamber, is doing something that is in tandem with public mood, showing some concerns, showing some worries over the extensive borrowing. In this case, that's going for loan to be able to fund the budget. But it shouldn't just stop there. It shouldn't just stop showing concern, making a comment. There is a law that the National Assembly could do to redirect affairs, but unfortunately, the National Assembly does not seem to be doing that. The National Assembly knows that extensive borrowing could indeed bring a country that could make a country to be on its knees for a fairly long time. Yes, some persons may argue that borrowing is an acceptable norm, but when you look at nations that borrow and how they manage funds sourced from beyond their shores, you will see a reasonable degree of discipline in managing those funds. And even when they borrow, it is not all the time, meaning that those countries do well to make some savings. So the question to ask in the case of Nigeria, from the money you make from different sources, what is the extent of saving if all the time you want to, yes, all the time you want to go a borrowing, because he who goes a borrowing indeed goes a sorrowing. So it's not just enough for the House of Representatives, which is the lower legislative chamber, to just be showing concern. There is a lot that the parliament could do to say, no, we do not accept borrowing. No, we want a change of tactics and a change of tactics or strategy. There's a lot that the National Assembly could do. Other countries that have parliaments that are vibrant have done a similar thing to redirect the focus and attention of the executive branches of government in such jurisdictions. So the National Assembly should not just stop at mere making comments at plenary. No, that is not what Nigerians expect from the National Assembly. It should go beyond just the display we see at plenary towards redirecting the focus of the executive branch of government, because that is what is needed at this point in time.
All right, and so we move away from the Guardian newspaper. We now go to the Vanguard.
All right, Vanguard newspaper has these stories. Former Governor Orji, that's Governor Theodore Orji, quizzed over alleged diversion of 55 billion naira Abia cash. NARD strike, why I invoked no work, no pay. Ngige tells Buhari NMA intervenes. Hush Puppy, court declines expert motion to stop Abba Kyari's extradition. Lasma at 21, how far so far? Good question. Peter Obi urges federal government to invest borrowed funds. And we also have Emiko Benin Monarch tasks kingmakers on adherence to customs and tradition. Absence of translator stalls trial of smugglers of 22.3 billion naira pangolin scales and elephant tusks. Climate change, 2 million IDPs in Borno, Adamawa Yobe feeling the heat, says the Vice President, Oshibajo. Malachi, any of these stories?
Thank you very much. In fact, when you mentioned the story of relating to absence of translators, honestly, my heart started to bleed.
Why exactly?
Here we are in this country, we have a discipline to begin to make use of. What is happening here is underutilization of experts in different disciplines. There's a body known as LAN, Linguistics Association of Nigeria, and quite a lot of them indeed have the mastery of different languages. Quite a lot of them are polyglots indeed. Mention any language you want, indigenous languages, foreign languages, they will be able to render services to you. And what that is pointing to is that the public institutions have not been able to synergize properly with the universities, because quite a lot of universities have a department of linguistics.
Now, this story has it. Sorry to interrupt you. Hold your thoughts there. This story has it that the perpetrators are said to be Guineans, and they were arrested in Lagos. And if I'm not mistaken, I think French will be one of the official language.
Of the country. So are we saying? Are we saying that? So are we saying that we don't have? Are we saying that we don't have experts who could help interpret French?
I mean, true thing. Even because this trial was to happen at the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, and within the same Ikoyi, you have an entire French institute. So
So we
I
have
think it's a
experts.
case of not paying attention to what is needed because we just
We
don't give people
must,
employment
because
because we feel we don't need them.
virtually every discipline is important, and there is a large pool of expertise domiciled in every discipline. It's just for the public institutions to begin to synergize with the different.
but Malachi, I would also like to add
and
this.
research institutes.
I mean, from the get-go, we knew that these were not Nigerian nationals; they were Guineans, right? Before they were arraigned in court or anything, shouldn't that have been a major criteria that there must be, whatever? I'm sure when they were writing their what's it
statements.
called, their statement, everything, there was someone there. I mean, there should be somebody that, or not even one person, maybe 2, 3 people, because anything can happen, assigned to that particular case. So because I'm reading the full bit of the story, it says they were arraigned in the court, and the legal advisor by the customs service, by the way. So the legal advisor of the Nigerian customs service said the absence in court of a translator, so I'm guessing it's the customs service that was supposed to provide a translator for them,
Because
stalled
they couldn't
their
be read
arraignment.
their rights
Yes, it
in a
says
language that they did not understand.
So as a result,
When
the
they
trial
arrested them,
judge
how did they read them their rights? 'Cause
exactly.
now, this was played in my head yesterday. When the Nigerian police arrest you, do they read your rights? Did they tell you
They
have
tell
a
you
right to
freeze.
remain silent? Did they tell you
Hey,
that?
stop there.
And
Did they tell
even
you you have a right to
and
remain
even the
silent
language
whenever you say
you
criminal
mentioned,
against
even the language you mentioned is an international language.
you? English, right?
French is an international
French, oh
language.
yes, oh yes.
It's one of the languages used at the level of United Nations. One of the international languages used at the level of United Nations.
So how did they read them their rights when they were arrested?
You're arrested.
Bonjour, mon ami.
We are taking
Arrest.
it to court.
Okay.
You also
All right.
you also mentioned another interesting story that has to do with the doctor's strike. No work, no pay will not solve the problem.
It never did.
Yes, and going ahead to employ to get replacements for the doctors will also not solve the problem.
Yeah.
Because in some states, efforts are being made to find replacements for the striking doctors. Medical practice, even when you have studied medicine, you are just fresh from the College of Medicine. Yes, you're a medical doctor, but you also require to understudy your seniors. It is one profession that you get better with your years of experience, your years of practice. So, no work, no pay will not solve the problem. And of course, going to the streets to find replacements for the striking doctors will also not solve the problem. And government will have to be very careful at this point. We have to be cautious indeed. If you are ready to find replacements for them, you are sending a message. The message you are sending is that there is money somewhere. Then why are you not paying them? There's money. If you could have the liquidity to find replacements, because those people definitely will also be looking forward to being paid salaries, no matter how little. Then the question will be asked: why are you not going ahead to begin to at least meet some of the demands or conditions that the striking workers have put on the table? So, no work, no pay will not solve the problem. Going to the streets to find replacements for the striking workers will not solve the problem.
It's quite unfortunate, really.
Dialogue is the way to go. And of course, going ahead to meet some of the demands or conditions. If you say you do not have money, okay, meet the conditions that you're able to meet. But if you say you don't have money and the doctors have the information that you are building railway from Nigeria to Nigeria Republic, definitely it sends an entirely different signal. Back to you.
All right, still from the Vanguard, these stories, I like to put these 3 together. So the first one is this one: FG partners Korea on maritime security. The next one is attacks on vessels at Quayside waterways in Lagos on the rise. And we have customs illegally engaging soldiers for operations, and that's according to Senator Francis Fadahunsi. And still from the Vanguard, this one is Theodore Orji's arrest at Abuja Airport is an insult to Ndigbo, and it's according to the Coalition of Southeast Youth Leaders. And on a lighter note, presidency sends delegation to Kano for Buhari's son's wedding and coronation. So yes, the presidency has constituted a presidential delegation ahead of the president's visit to Kano for the marriage of his son to Zara Bayero, who is the daughter of the Emir of Bichi in Kano State.
Okay,
Over
go
to
ahead.
you,
Thank you very
Margaret.
much. The partnership between Nigeria and South Korea indeed could be said to be heartwarming, because the more collaboration at any level is emphasized, it will indeed help society. Public institutions should come together, synergize, and solve their problems. And in the same way, nations should also come together and solve their problems. But by the time you come together to synergize, you discover that you may not have to do everything. The race of life is not a sprint indeed, it's a marathon. And for you to be able to deal with the marathon in the manner that Philippides, the great runner, did thousands of years ago, you should be able to synergize, collaborate. In the case of countries should collaborate. In the case of public institutions, they should collaborate. And then, of course, in the case of corporate bodies, they should also collaborate. Even individuals should also collaborate. So one is hoping that Nigeria should do that on a recurring basis, so that it will begin to look forward to some milestones. Back to you.
Okay, this story on the customs and that's customs illegally engaging soldiers for operations, according to Senator Francis Fadahunsi. Now, he disclosed that officials of the Nigeria Customs Service go out on field operations and are accompanied by Nigerian Army officers that are not cleared from their barracks for such operations. Now, we know that not too long ago, a custom officer or custom officers were killed in Ibadan during a raid on the markets by customs officers. And now they are having to go for operations with army personnel. Now, it's one thing that they're going for operations with army personnel. It's another thing that the personnel are not even cleared from their barracks to go on such operations. So there's no information as to who is where at a particular time. Anything can be done and gotten away with. And my questions are around the fact that what is the job of the police when the army is being drafted to go about with the customs service? Is it the job of the army or the police?
In fact, the lead security agency in terms of internal security operations is Nigerian Police Force.
And you see, it's a problem because we seem to be using the Nigerian Army for a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing, a lot of things that they don't have a business with in the first place. You see people moving their properties, housing properties, their bedroom and properties from one state to another, and they have an army personnel accompanying them. I mean, that's not the job of the army.
It's an abuse of process. The lead security agency in terms of internal security operations is Nigerian Police Force. In terms of mandate and even in terms of age, the Nigerian Police Force, although then not called Nigerian Police Force, is the oldest security organization in Nigeria. dating back to 1820. And even down the line, it was in 1930 that it was now named the Nigerian Police Force. By the time the different security agencies, different police outfits in different parts of the country were collapsed into one. And in 1930, it was now named Nigerian Police Force. So in terms of age, it has an edge over the others.
It should have an edge.
Yes. And even in terms of mandate, Nigerian Police Force is the one that is in charge in terms of internal security operations. That is not to say that it could not be assisted by other security agencies, but definitely one should expect that the Nigerian Police Force should be there to drive internal security operations. And just like you said,
is it that people have lost faith in the Nigerian Police Force?
Well,
that making them draft the army into personal use.
With the gale of insecurity ravaging the country, indeed, people do not feel happy that we have security agencies maintained at public expense, and to a reasonable extent, they could not move about to engage in their lawful endeavors. People are indeed worried that the different security agencies have not been able to rise to the challenge of insecurity, and is indeed worrisome, and is not something that could be defended. Back to you.
All right then. So let's take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll be taking your responses. Don't forget, you can send your messages to us via 0810 608 1681 and 0818 202 5883. All right, so going to the text message portal. Here we go. Right, I have this one here. I have this message in front of me. This one here reads, "Good morning, AM crew." It says Moses Wandator, Damola, and Honorable Malachi. Federal character may bog implementation of the Petroleum Industry Committee is no news, as Section 14, Subsection 3 of the Constitution 1999 on federal character have always been tossed to the dustbin by this administration. Well, as oil bears in the south and sleeps in the northern parts of Nigeria, this speaks the fact of marginalization now, a state policy. Nothing to bother, as God of the poor man, no they sleep. One day, you go better, as God watches from a distance. Let that sporting theory continue, as we never had tribalism walk on all fours. Not until now. Barrister Ugo Osuji from Pesta Town.
Idima Puza sent in this message. The only solution I see in solving doctors' continual yearly strikes is making laws dissuading leaders from traveling abroad for medical tourism. This will make all our hospitals to be taken care of. All hospitals will be equipped, and doctors and nurses' salaries would be paid and be taken care of to dissuade them from leaving the country for greener pastures abroad.
Honestly, I was thinking with the advent of COVID-19, more attention will be put into, bringing the hospitals up to par.
But the fact, I think it was also stalled by, opening the airspace and all of that. Yeah. When we were not able to travel, when the world was shut, it probably would have,
if they had,
that line
longer, probably. All right, good morning, Metro crew. Please, PNB, look inward to fish out the eternal enemy of this country, Our experience was on guard, exposed notable criminals in the polity and government in Nigeria. They must be trusted individuals, but if they err, they must be punished, no matter how highly placed. The ambassadors of the criminals must be arrested to lead the way to give them fight or war. Okay, to lead the way to give them fight or war. Restructuring of Nigeria is now. God help Nigeria. Ginger Iguatu from Ikeja.
Oyewusi from Ikotu says, why should 70 to 80% of the committee for the implementation of the Petroleum Act come from the north? This is clearly like dipping peppery finger into the eyes of the oil producing states, which ought to be allowed to call the shots. Why do we tend to do things that create division amongst us instead of searching for ways to mend fences? When will Nigeria ever learn to do what is right and justifiable?
All right, one thing Mr. President must know is that Nigerians didn't vote for the service chiefs. The military is not a magical theater. The ball stops on his table. I'm sure he knows that. However, Mr. President, okay, all right, I see that one. Well, the level of disunity is beyond redemption. I hope the sycophants can read between the lines. The act has not changed anything about the House of Corruption. Nothing to benefit average from the PIA. 300 naira a litre is an absurd act. It's a scam. Wale Fatula. Okay. Wale Fatula had some strong language there, but let's keep it simple, please.
All right, and from Alaba Alakbe Abdurrafiu on Facebook, you said, hello, Mr. Malachi. For the first time ever, I will disagree with you on the PIA committee members set up by the Minister for State for Petroleum, Timothy Silva. Sir, what is happening at the one being managing and fully controlled by the indigenes you mentioned, I mean the NDDC. So let the ones created by the PIA go ahead. What we need is good results. We don't need another off your mic, off your...
Okay.
Alright.
Anya from Lagos. I don't know why PMB is still interested in open grazing and not ranching in this age. Or is he not tired of the daily headers farmers clash? Before you take another message there, I have this one just came in. Says, please help use this video to alert relevant authorities around Ikotu LCDA that a corpse is inside the gutter in front of Okerube Primary School, Abaroje, Olakule bus stop, Ikotu. It needs to be evacuated before causing an epidemic in the area. A concerned Nigerian sent that one in.
Thank you for the information.
We hear that it is around Igondo Ikotu LCDA, the cops, inside the gutter in front of Okerube Primary School at Baroji Olakule bus stop. So we would like relevant authorities to go there, swing into action, as they say.
And act fast.
Yeah, and get the cops out of that place.
Tony from Lagos is asking, why did Baja dodge on the day of the PIB debate? He is... you said he's a sellout. Don't hope on him so much, alright?
Thanks. This is Okafor Joseph from Onijuku Legislative Incompetence. Okay, legislative incompetence is Nigeria's major problem. Let the executive allow moral to guide the PIA's implementation steering committee. And by the way, why do we need implementation committee being drawn from regions? The executive procedure in governance can handle it once guided by procedure and moral. Debt servicing is eminent with borrowing. In the 1980s and 70s, Mexico and Brazil began to resist American banks' loan servicing for leading to economic decline. Economic enslavement is imminent with this pathological Malay political hold of the country is sinister.
Alright, and this message coming in from Reverend Onyema in Ikotu again. Okay, no, this is first time. No work, no pay sends a bad signal by the federal government against the striking doctors. Meanwhile, why not dialogue with them? than looking for replacements. Use the money you will use to pay the new doctors. In a country where some are paid 30 million a month, it is an irony of Nigeria.
Hi Metro crew, our analysts in the PIA and the 30% wrongly allocated for exploration. It should be noted that Shell, Mobil, etc. were the ones who spent their money for explorations, and federal government did not assist. Are you privy to that information? I'm doubting peace peace will not come to the region. I'm afraid, Nini from K2. Alright, Nini, let's be optimistic. Let's throw out the pessimism.
Jonathan Onya on Facebook. This is your comment. Happy Friday to you, AM crew. Ganduje giving COVID-19 award is laughable. For doing what? Is it that he came up with the vaccine, or is Kano COVID-19 free? Please stop people should stop portraying us as an unserious nation. You went on to say DCP Kyari should be allowed to go to the US and clear his name. This legal battle over extradition will not help. Rather, it will paint us in bad light.
Alright, Steve Omar Fozol sent in this one saying that, good morning guys, good morning to you too, Steve. On insecurity, President Buhari said that he doesn't want to leave office a failure, but the question is, has Buhari been succeeding at all since 2015? Well, look around you, you'll find something. Yeah. The governor of his home state, Katsina, Bello Masari, only 2 days ago, told the citizens to defend themselves. Zamfara and Plateau states recently are now war zones, same as Kaduna and other parts of the country. Okay. And then he goes on to say, Dear President, talking tough will not solve the problem of insecurity. The only genuine way forward is total and sincere restructuring of Nigeria. Let us have a dialogue on how we want to live as a people. Take it or leave it. Thank you. That's Steve Omar Fozo. Well, if you look around you, there are things you can compliment the president for. Just take a good look around, you know. All right, so do we have more messages?
Yes, we do. Former governor's arrest. On former governor's arrest. I'm trying to help you make sense of your message. So, on former governor's arrest, the people saying it's an insult on Igbos is just mere sentiments. He did evil in Abia State, and that's from Oshim in Ijegun.
Alright.
Hold on. Yes, one more message.
Okay. Well, there is a message here. This one here reads, good morning, guys. PIA is fraudulent and call for anarchy. It was ill-conceived and will not enhance peace, justice, equity, and fairness. Unfortunately, it will not address anomaly in oil sector. I'm not surprised at the nepotic lopsidedness of the implementation committee because it is the hallmark of the president. Oh, come on. Come on. Well, he goes on to say that if we don't address injustice, inequity, and unfairness that is drawing the nation backwards, peace will continue to elude the nation. We need to restructure now to save the nation because, that is from, let's see, there's a name to it. I like the fact that there's a name to it. His name is Uzodimma. Alright, thank you very much.
Oludele Gold from Lagos Island. This was the message I was looking for actually. He says, or she says, President Buhari said he doesn't want to leave the office as a failure is a very strong statement. He went on to say, is it that he knew what to do and chose this time to do it, or did he just find a way out of our security challenges? May God help Nigerians and Nigeria. Funcho, good morning to you. Did I hear you say some youths in Igbo land are kicking? No, it's not some youths. Are kicking the arrest of Theodore Orji, who looted Dry. I'm trying to get the exact message.
While we get that story out, you want to say something?
Yes, yes. Let me. Some reactions have come in, and very quickly, the one that has to do with medical tourism. Indeed, if we can do away with medical tourism by political office holders, put an end to it, it will have a positive impact on the state of the nation's health sector. It will help to at least increase attention to the health sector, which indeed could be said to be in a deplorable state. So it will definitely help. Quickly, to the issue of NDDC, someone alluded to the issue of NDDC, that people running NDDC, Niger Delta Development Commission, they are natives of the oil producing communities, and they have not been able to do much. No matter what is made available to NDDC, it's just a token. And NDDC is not a creation of the people. Once you allow the people to come up with things on their own, definitely, they won't put the kind of people that are there now calling the shots in NDDC. They will put in people that will report back to them and people that they can control. Most of the people in NDDC are more or less political appointees. So the people do not have, yes, they could be natives, but the people do not have control over them. Those people cannot call them to order to a reasonable extent. So what is happening at the level of NDDC should not be used as an alibi that will make the country not to address inequity, unfairness, and injustice as is being illustrated in the case of Petroleum Industry Act. Back to you.
All right. One last message before we go. This one is coming in from OC in Lagos. It says FG insisting on no work, no pay for doctors is not the solution. FG should embrace dialogue. Remember, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. People making use of soldiers because they have lost their confidence in police. God help Nigeria. That's OC's message, and that's the last message we'll take this morning on the show.
All right, before we go, let's just run through the Punch newspaper. Just have maybe 2 minutes to respond to stories that tickle your fancy. The Punch has prosecute arrested bandits, insurgents. Baptist Convention tells federal government. Alleged assault, Algon asks immigration to quit Oyo Council. Rivers CJ frees 10 prison inmates. Court dissolves 10-year marriage over woman's alleged stealing habit. Too bad. A PDP will defeat APC Uzodinma in 2023. Ex-Imo Deputy Speaker. Hoodlums rob POS operator of 4 million naira. Burn cops, kill Uber driver. How does a POS operator walk around with 4 million?
Why are you even walking around with 4 million?
Why do you have 4 million on you? Well, Buni battles 5 suits, 100 APC members seek removal. Southwest kidnapped victims paid 3 billion naira in 2 years. Gani Adams. Jimo Ibrahim owes government 70 billion naira. We retain Nikon, others, Amcom. Oil price tumbles to $65, lowest in 3 months. I need somebody to tell me how this affects us really. How is this good or bad? All right, Mama Khan.
Very quickly, you mentioned the oil price crashing. Indeed, once the oil price begins to crash, what that is telling Nigeria and Nigerians is that the country will be getting less revenue from crude oil, which appears to be the mainstay of the nation's economy. And why won't oil price or prices? Why won't oil price crash? Quite a lot of countries are moving away from dependence on crude oil. Vehicles that do not use petrol are being produced or manufactured. And what that means is that there will be less demand for the nation's oil. Quickly, I should go okay, straight to the part in short, since we are indeed pressed for time. In the words of St. Ignatius, who in his time was one of the holiest men in the world, one of the holiest persons in the world, I plead to quote, "Pray hard as if everything depends on God, but work hard as if everything depends on you," unquote.
All right, thank you very much, Malachi Ugu, for all you do.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
A big thanks to producer Adida Bolati Jani. My name is Moses Humphrey. The news comes up shortly. Wonderful Koye also say thank you. Yeah?
Yes.
Looking like Haja this morning.
Thank you very much. All right, so stay tuned to Metro 97.7 FM. We'll be joining the network service shortly for the news, and at 8 o'clock we'll be back here in Lagos Live. Stay tuned.